Hello everyone, TLSG here, back again with another daily Marvel Snap video. So I finally got a much needed haircut, thankfully, and I started streaming over on twitch.tv as well. So if you haven't followed the channel there, make sure that you go to twitch.tv/TLSGsnap to catch us anytime that we're live. And then because Twitch does not store the videos on demand permanently, I will also be uploading the videos on demand onto a separate YouTube channel. I'll leave a link to that channel in the description below. If you're interested in watching back the videos on demand 24 hours after they're streamed, make sure that you are subscribed over there to not miss a video. Today's deck is designed to be very flexible. It leans very heavily on using good cards or good value cards to be able to maintain or drop tempo depending on what you're running against and depending on what your last turn plans are. So a lot of this list has a really early curve. So you have your Sunspot, your Iceman, your Zero, Ebony Maw, and Lizard, all fantastic early initiative gains. Mr. Fantastic is just a good value card. 3/6 across the lanes can help you grab initiative into, I don't know, Plunder Castle that the opponent can't normally play cards into until the end of the game. And then we also have a really sneaky in-game combo in the Wave and She-Hulk. With those two cards, if you use Wave on 3, similar to your Death Wave, you can limit the opponent to only dropping one card. If you identify that they're a list that's not running that in-game combo, you can limit them to one card and you're going to be able to play two out on the board. You'll be able to do your She-Hulk and a Red Skull, your She-Hulk, a Shang-Chi, She-Hulk and Arrow, Doctor Doom. Any of your high-end cards, you'll be able to do two of on the last turn while your opponent can only do one. And so overall, the list is very, very solid. You could potentially take out Wave for like a Cosmo, maybe you take out Mr. Fantastic for a lower cost card, but I like Mr. Fantastic's reach. I like the combo of Wave, so if we're going against Thanos and they haven't quite flooded all of their stuff onto the board, then we can limit what they are able to do on certain turns. So if we know that they're probably going to play their Lockjaw on 3, we could sometimes just do an early Wave, and then that limits the ability for them to flip and draw and get all of that additional push out on the board that early. But overall, the list has run incredibly well. It has a lot of flexibility and versatility depending on what you're running up against. I was able to do decently against both Thanos and Shuri. Both of those are the meta behemoths. Those are the decks that are all over the place because those are going to be your most consistent decks to climb, be competitive in most matches. And so anytime I'm building a deck, I like to think, can this beat those two archetypes? In the back of my mind, somewhere small is Galactus, but you don't see Galactus nearly as often, especially with Arrow being as common as she is. A lot of times that alone can stop a turn 5 Galactus play. And so with the brief deck explanation out of the way, we're going to go ahead and jump over into a couple of games. I hope you guys enjoy. All right, next up we have Zap Gaze. The first location is the Vault, and so we're going to go ahead and play our Sunspot there. He will be able to soak energy over time. We can eventually play our Lizard. We have Wave, so if we draw into She-Hulk, that's going to be the perfect utilization from her. And so we'll kind of see from there. Their Iceman hits our Lizard, so we're not going to be able to play him on 2. We could play him on 2 thanks to the Project Pegasus energy that's coming our way. We could also do an early Red Skull, because a lot of times we're going to angle more towards the Wave on turn 5 instead. I'm going to do the early Red Skull. They might have Shang-Chi, and they might be able to capitalize on us that way. But we do have Doctor Doom to hopefully push power into those hard-to-reach locations. Right, and so they skip on turn 5. Interesting. They could have a free She-Hulk now, but that would be about it. That would be like the only reason for skipping there. Interesting. I mean, we're okay with it. It's just interesting is all. We do draw our Doctor Doom. Now if we can draw our She-Hulk, we can have a really good like last couple of turns to play. They do their Bucky Barnes. Ooh, they're running a destroy deck, so like a Death Wave. They could very easily destroy our Sunspot. So our Wave is not going to be great for us. They might actually Wave of their own on 5 because they're going to want to do like, oh, there goes our She-Hulk too. Oh, that feels so bad. Our She-Hulk is now out of the picture. It gives us a better chance of pulling into our Arrow so we can displace the opponent's power. I don't know. I don't know. And we don't draw into it yet, so we're going to play our Mr. Fantastic to push a little power to the left and to the right, just all across the board. He's a good value card for 3. That's the Shang-Chi to the left, or is it the Wave? The Shang-Chi to the left is interesting. So now if they have the Killmonger, they just win that lane. Even, I guess if we do Doctor, they didn't do Wave, which was really surprising. So if we do Doctor Doom, that's going to push... It's going to push 5 power here. We have the 2 from Mr. Fantastic. This is going to put us up to 7. Actually, if they killmonger, it doesn't matter because it's going to take out some of their resources as well. I mean, we could always arrow. If we don't think they're going killmonger, we could arrow. I don't know. We're going to go Dr. Doom to go wide. And we do get the retreat. All right, next up we have Juro. The first location is Luke's bar. So we can play our Iceman a couple of times. Like, we don't typically curve out too incredibly well. A lot of times we have energy to float. And so I'm okay hitting them a couple of times with Iceman. We can push power into that lane eventually with a Dr. Doom. And so let's lean into it. We could continue to do 0, but we really only have 2 good targets for our 0 in this. Actually 3. We have our Lizard, our Ebony Maw, and our Red Skull. Other than that, we don't necessarily get much value from 0. We are going to continue to hit them with the Iceman. And we get the Arg out of frustration. The Wolverine comes down, so it could be Galactus. And Galactus pushing the Wolverine over into Luke's bar could be how they win that one. It's kind of scary. But let's go ahead and hit them again. We're not gonna give in. We're gonna continue to help them with Iceman until they just can't play anything at all. Now, if they have a wave, then that changes things because then everything sets to 4 anyways. But still, I like to think that we're frustrating the mess out of them. So they play 2 cards here. Hopefully one is not Galactus. Okay, no, the Electro is good though. Still supports a in-game Galactus. And an in-game Galactus would be really, really scary in Luke's bar. We're going to go ahead and Iceman them one more time. If they can't play Galactus here this turn. They could play it next turn. They have the Electro, they ramp one more time. So they're going to have 7 energy going into turn 5. And so we have to look out for the Galactus line. Now, unfortunately, unless we draw Arrow here, we can't beat it. The Wolverine goes over. We don't have anything else we can push in that lane if we can't drop our Dr. Doom into the side. So unfortunately, we don't have the Cosmo. We took that out in favor of Wave, but we don't have Wave in our hand anyways. Once we lock in this play, I assume that we see the snap come down, and that's where we end up retreating. If they don't snap, then there's no harm in us staying and seeing it out. Otherwise, our odds are just really, really bad. Even a Professor X here, they could do in Luke's bar, and that locks us out of that lane. It becomes really difficult to win with them having, I assume, or perceived a couple of different ways to push power over there. So they play into Project Pegasus. Interesting. The Hobgoblin comes down. We're still winning that lane, though. We now draw our Dr. Doom. If they top decked their Galactus and they play it into Luke's bar, hopefully hoping to force a tie, then we're all right. Do we think we force a retreat if we snap them? I mean, we have the read right. I would normally snap, knowing that it's going to encourage them to retreat. But there's a small part of me that thinks that they drew Galactus and they'll play it here thinking that it will win them the game and that we could sneak 4 or 8 cubes out of it instead. They have 3 cards left in their deck. Is it worth it to snap now? Nope, we're going to sneak in the Dr. Doom. Okay, yeah, so they play into the right lane to swing that one with the Destroyer of all things. So their Wolverine can bounce into Luke's bar and that could have won them multiple lanes. Other than that, it would have came down to a tiebreaker. And so I don't think they would have snayed on the snap. Had they drawn Galactus, I definitely think they would have. And so we do win the 2 out of 3 with the top deck of Dr. Doom. Let's go ahead and jump over into the next one. All right, next up we have Zinc. The first location is the camp, so we get a Agent Coulson out of it. So we could potentially curve into some better cards, some 3, 4, 5 play lines if we don't have a better turn 3 play. The Wakandan Embassy helps us, but it helps them quite a bit as well. They play their Time Stone, so they'll be able to play maybe their Lockjaw this turn. If they play their Lockjaw this turn, then they're going to be rotating too much power for us to be able to really do much about it. The Juggernaut is an interesting one. I'm guessing they didn't have another 3 cost. So Fisk Tower is another interesting one, so we want to avoid that one. We do have our Wave and our She-Hulk now, and so we could always Wave on 5 into She-Hulk and Dr. Doom. That's going to be... But since we didn't have a turn 1 or a turn 2, which is astronomical odds, look at the top half of our deck. We have like all of the cards in the top half of our deck in the bottom half of our deck, which is just absurd. Which is just absurd. We're gonna play the Hope game. We're gonna play Agent Coulson. Hope that we generate a good 4 cost. Okay, so the Lockjaw does come down. Goes into Jotunheim, which is not advantageous for them. They get Blue Marvel, which is. But we have the 5 power from Agent Coulson. Let's go ahead and lean into our wave. On the last turn, we can do 2 cards. We're probably going to play both of them into Fisk Tower just because we're afraid of a potential arrow play. The Devil Dino is big. Oh, no. So we could do Shang-Chi and She-Hulk now. Would Shang-Chi win this lane for us? We get arrow as well. What is our best chance of winning? We do Shang-Chi. That's 4 power here, so that brings us up to 12. It brings them down to 10. We win this lane. Is 10 power enough to win the right lane, knowing that they're going to have to play something over here because of Jotunheim? Jotunheim's going to bring them down by 3. We have the sneaky 2 power of Mr. Fantastic in the left lane, and I think that will be enough for us to win. If they use an arrow, then we will lose this lane, but we should win this one and maybe this one. This would put us at 17. It would put them at 13. We're going to go with this one. There's a couple of ways we could play this. Oh, they have initiative. What are we doing? Oh, no. We had this win locked down. Oh, we still won it, but we choked on that. With the initiative, it's very, very important knowing that we couldn't have done the Shang-Chi play. We should have went with the Doctor Doom and the She-Hulk, or an arrow and the She-Hulk, or something that further supported that Fisk Tower lane, because that was a lot closer in this lane than it needed to be. We dropped the ball, but Mr. Fantastic came in clutch. We will take the undeserved cubes. Let's go ahead and jump over into the next one. All right, next up we have Prometheus. The first location is the miniaturized lab, so we're going to be pushing our lizard into that location. Now, the opponent is running a Thanos deck, so we can expect for them to want to flood a lot of cards onto the board really, really early and really quickly. So they do a Power Stone and an Okoye, so all of the rest of their cards are going to be buffed up. Ideally, we can draw into our wave by the end of the game. That is going to allow us to really disrupt what they want to do and where they want to do it. So it doesn't feel great, but I think we're going to do Iceman and Ebony Maw into the Eternity range. That can make sure that they get the rock on their side. That little bit of disruption doesn't, in most games, matter. It's better than us having it. I would rather have more space than not enough. And so we don't draw into wave just yet. We're going to have to skip here. So if we don't hit wave on turn 5, we can angle into a She-Hulk. And then on the last turn, we could do maybe a Doctor Doom to help support the other ones. They play a She-Hulk into mid. Interesting. So we don't get wave, unfortunately. So we're going to play She-Hulk to the right. Their She-Hulk is in mid. We do have our Zero and Red Skull. That's always a kind of good surprise last turn play. 18 power across the board, or on the board, on the last turn is always pretty interesting. They use an arrow into Eternity range, so they're going to force our big card into that location. So we could do... I mean, now we could do Doctor Doom. No, we can't. We can't play into the... we can't play into this location. So we can't play any additional cards there. But we have initiative because they forced us into this lane. What do we think about an arrow and a Zero to the right? If we can pull all of their cards over to the left, no. We want to make sure we play it into the location that has the most space. So we could arrow to the right. Hopefully they don't play more than 3 cards. They only have 5 in their hand. And then if they don't play more than 3 cards, we can pull them over. We can play our Zero to the left to win the tiebreaker. We would win mid and left. Just 1 card. Is that Thanos? Blue Marvel is marvelous, but not quite what you needed, my friend. The Blue Marvel plus a 1 cost would have gotten you there. That was a lot closer than it feels like it was. But my gosh, the one power lead, we'll take it. We will absolutely take it. Let's jump over into the next one. All right, next up we have Berseer, and they are not running a Thanos list. Thank you, Berseer. Thanos and Shuri are all over the place. So if they're not running a Thanos, I assume that they are running a Shuri deck. They are just the most common decks. It's really, anytime I'm brewing a deck, in my mind, I'm thinking, can this beat Thanos and can this beat Shuri? Anything else is kind of irrelevant. So they have the Zero that they played. I expect maybe a Lizard, and so I'm going to actually play into the far right lane. I want to push into Hala, because we don't know what this location is, but with them having the extra power that they can play into this middle location, I don't know that we could keep up. So I think it would be a risk to play our cards there. Shadowland is not great, but not terrible either. I'm going to skip here. I want to play Mr. Fantastic, but I don't want him to get destroyed in Hala either. And so we can skip here, let Sunspot absorb some energy. After next turn, the cards in this middle location will be destroyed from whoever is losing at that point in time. And so Cosmo, interesting. I expect a Shuri to come down on this turn. So surely that will happen. We have the wave. We can wave on the last turn and hopefully do a couple of cards. So we're probably going to drop initiative here. No, we won't. We never drop initiative here, unfortunately. And against this kind of deck with the Cosmo, if they end up doing an armor, having initiative is actually a decent win. So I'm going to go ahead and skip here again. We're going to let Sunspot absorb some more energy. They do play armor into the middle location and then a Sunspot to the left. And so they didn't play Shuri, so they probably didn't have it. We might be able to utilize that to find our way to win. We can use Wave here, let Sunspot absorb some additional energy. We can always go with Shang-Chi and She-Hulk. We can maybe go with Red Skull and She-Hulk. We have a couple of ways that we can play the end game for this match. So they play in the right lane, probably what, a Red Skull? Red Skull in the right lane would be a lot of power to overcome. But with them only being able to play one card here, they could potentially do an arrow to the, I guess, to the left. But an arrow to the left wouldn't be enough. A Taskmaster would copy the Red Skull, but that wouldn't be enough. The Wave allowing us to do 2 plays here, unless they have, even if they had their She-Hulk, they used all 5 energy last turn. So we're going to be able to sneak out the right lane with our own Red Skull, and then I think we should be able to win the other ones by themselves. Now, if they do an arrow that soaks 1 energy here, we're fine in this lane. And so I think we have them beaten kind of on all measures. So the Taskmaster copying the 15 power Red Skull, that wins them the left lane, but we swing the right lane of our own. We have the She-Hulk coming down to win mid, and that is the most beautiful ending to the video I could have asked for. This deck does decently against both of the behemoths in the metagame right now, being Shuri and Thanos. I really, really like the wave tech into the She-Hulk. You can oftentimes sneak out wins that you might not have been able to otherwise, or the opponent could have flooded more power onto the board. Because I have no doubt in my mind that that somewhere in their hand they had something like a Titania or something else that they could have played for 1 cost, in addition to their Taskmaster there. And so with that one, we are going to go ahead and end the video. I hope that you guys enjoyed it. As always, this has been TLSG. Later, guys.